Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to Exploring with Courtney. In today's video, we have a very special guest, my friend John Franklin, who you know from season 35 of The Amazing Race on CBS. On the show, John and his brother Greg competed with 12 other teams in a race around the world, completing very difficult challenges every step of the way. Ultimately, they came in first place, not only winning the season, but also the grand prize of $1 million. So, John, thank you so much for being here today, and congratulations on the big win.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here finally.
I just want to say how much I loved the show, and I watched it almost every week with my family growing up. And I always imagined how much fun it would be to actually compete on The Amazing Race. But for some reason, I just never thought to actually apply. So I would love to hear what inspired you and Greg to apply for the show.
Yeah, funny enough, Gregory and I had watched a few seasons here and there. Like we're more of a Survivor family growing up. But we were at our grandparents' 75th wedding anniversary in North Carolina, kind of just bored. We were like playing poker, watching TV, and we're just trying to scheme how to travel for free. So we made an application video for this, thinking, oh yeah, Amazing Race, a little itinerary that they'll make for us. And yeah, on our second take, we made a 3-minute video, watched it back, and said, good enough. Put it in on the AmazingRaceApplication.com, sent it in and completely forgot about it. Like I kid you not, I didn't give it another second of thought. But then you get that call from LA, saying, hey, we saw your video, we're really interested. And Gregory and I just did the process from there. We were actually on a snowboarding trip, just the two of us, for a week in Canada when we got that call. So we just switched that trip from snowboarding to binging The Amazing Race, working on our written application, and kind of just starting to strategize this whole thing. And I'm so glad that we did.
So funny to hear the story behind your application. I would love for you to let us know what the application process was like and what do you think made your application stand out?
Yeah, getting your foot in the door is pretty easy. You just put in like a quick bio, a blurb, and then put in this application video. But once they make contact with you, it like exponentially grows. You have this massive written application where you're telling all of your strengths and weaknesses, your relationship. You do another application video. From there, they do a background check on you. Like they're pulling out tweets from like 2016 that I sent, like, hey, what'd you mean by this? And I'm like, it was the election, it was Trump. I was heated. And then they'll do referral calls. I had like 6 or 7 friends have to like talk to my character and like talk about how I act when I've had alcohol, or like, do I like take out anger on people, like all these kind of weird questions. And I told them that I was just volunteering for a kids event. So they're like, why are they asking me all these weird questions? You take an IQ test. So they've got a stat for Gregory and I and everyone else who's on our season. They give you like personality, sanity check. They're asking questions like, do you hear voices? Do you feel like people are out to get you? All this stuff to kind of just make sure that you are like sane for the show. They do not want to be taking risks. And the crux of the application process, though, were the interviews. You do interviews along this 5.5-month journey. The ultimate one being flying to LA, where you meet Phil, you meet the creators of the show, all the CBS execs, and you pitch your heart out. They give you maybe 20 minutes, and they ask you questions, you answer, give them some personality, give them some charm, and that's it. You get the call pretty soon after that. When we made our application video, it wasn't incredibly deep or detailed, but I think we were charming in a way. I think Gregory and I, obviously brothers, so I've known him his whole life. And I think that dynamic shows that we're able to communicate and we really know what the other's thinking 99% of the time. And that really helps on not only in a story setting for the show, but also just like doing tasks and understanding his strengths and weaknesses. So I think that was our big pitch. How to stand out was we really did throw a lot of random things that we knew at them. In our final interview, most of it was talking about acapella and how Gregory and I both do acapella and how like, working in a group and doing auditions and like understanding people's strengths and weaknesses. Like that was part of it. I don't think they were expecting that in the final interview. They're like, how do we miss this? So I think we were just kind of bringing in a few of our life experiences, and they thought, oh, wow, these boys really do have like a good amount of shared experiences all across the board. So it might be good to have them on the show and have some of that pop up, and you see that pop up. I think they love pulling little sound bites of us saying, "Oh yeah, when we were younger, we took this class," or "Oh yeah, back in college, I was interested in this." Yeah.
So, how much time did you have between finding out that you had been selected to be on the show and the show actually starting? And what did you do during that time? Like,
Yeah.
was that 3 days or 3 weeks?
3 weeks. Yeah. So they give you the call about 3 weeks beforehand, and so Gregory and I kind of dipped our toes into preparing in January and February. And a lot of the training had to do with just watching the show. I think we had a lot of seasons to catch up on, and you're watching in a different lens too. You're not just paying attention to the relationships and the humor, but you're like, oh, they're going up the steps and one of them has a counter. That's really helpful. Write that down. Like, make sure to pack that. Or, they get into the back of a taxi and they might ask like how much gas the taxi has and make sure that they don't run out or they have to stop at all this stuff that is really good if you are going to race. And then just being familiar with the challenges themselves and what are the skills that are typically needed to be successful. That puzzle portion was pretty down pat. I play board games competitively. I have been working on the crossword for years now. I'm at my longest streak right now and trying to hold on. And all of that really does play into the show because you will see word puzzles, you'll see logic puzzles. But I think it's that in combination with patience. I think just learning how to do these like mundane tasks that are physical or just require searching and just like being familiar with how you work under pressure is part of it too. And that's really hard to replicate when you're training for the race versus when you're actually on it.
So now moving into talking about the race itself, when we were watching the season, it seemed like in the earlier episodes, you and Greg were kind of trailing or at least just not leading the pack at all. And then suddenly, I forget which week it was, but you guys just started winning episodes back to back to back, and everyone knew that you all were the ones to watch out for. Was there a moment or particular reason for the shift in momentum?
You really do learn to race when you're on it. Like all that prep I was talking about only gets you part of the way there. There's something about knowing what it's like to rip a clue, how to digest the clue, how to navigate, how to communicate that you really do learn just through trial and error. And we just had to get through some errors to hit that stride. Part of it too was like when you're starting out, I think my mentality was just like, don't get eliminated. Don't get eliminated, especially those 8th place legs. Like we were so thankful for our position. We were like, thank gosh that we like found that tile or, got the fish stand first try. But once we hit India and we do hit that first, our goal, just the goalpost change. We were like, all right, we love this feeling. We love this prize. How do we keep this going? And I think that drive really kept us with a new mentality. And then, our strengths also started to pop up. Like we got to more countries where we were self-driving. We didn't have to rely on taxis. We were able to do our own navigation, and other teams might not be as strong as stick shift or their own navigation. So I think that's where the delta in skills really shifted our way. And from there also, like some legs, once you have a lead, it's easier to keep it. Like once you got first, you can keep that going, especially when we were in Slovenia day 2. I think we got first the previous leg and just stayed in first position that whole time. So all of that kind of contributed to it, I think is a big portion of it too.
I would love to hear from your perspective what made navigation so challenging and how you and Greg were able to kind of come through this entire race without ever really getting lost.
Well, I'll remind people that you definitely don't have your phone for this entire race. And that's not how we navigate in the 21st century. So it was a challenge to not only like ask people for their phones to get directions, but then like how to write them down, how to stay on the course. And then when you're off the course, how to recalibrate, because there is no recalculating when you've got your directions on paper. So I think for a lot of people that was a struggle, especially when you're doing international driving where you're on the other side of the road, you are driving stick, signs are in different languages, there are different colors, different speed limits, you're doing kilometers. All of this adds to just more stress for both the driver and the navigator. Not to mention you've got a camera on you asking you questions while you're navigating. There's also a bit of social pressure. You've seen people tailing other people when they think, oh, our directions say to go down this. And we've been in this position where it's our directions say we need to fork right, but Todd and Ashley are right in front of us and they're going straight. Like who's right here? So it's not as straight as like, I'm just going to follow step by step. It's a bit more, context behind it too. I think for us, we Has some strengths because I just like navigating. I think being in a city has been good, not only for driving, but also walking navigation and just understanding where north is and understanding your bearings pretty much at all times. And then just being very diligent with your directions when you're writing them down. Like when we got someone's phone and put in from A to B, even if it was a 3 hour drive, we're writing down every single step. I'm drawing the little arrow that Google Maps tells you, like with the left or right forks, and writing down the kilometers for each step, like pretty much verbatim, exactly the preview that Google Maps says. We put it on paper so that we have that to reference, and then a little bit of compass thrown in there too. So you see, I'm going from this part of Germany to Cologne, and I'll see, oh, I'm going like north for some time and then northeast. So I keep that compass to make sure that at least we're going the same like direction esque of what we saw.
So
in the picture.
you and Greg brought your own compass with you, or
We
did the
brought
race
like
provide
4
everyone?
compasses. The race doesn't give you diddly squat. The race gives you like a Sudoku book when you're in your hotel room the first night, and that's it. From there, they don't tell you what to pack either. So it's up to you to know to bring an alarm clock, because none of the hotel rooms have alarm clocks to wake you up for the challenges, and it's up to you to bring 1 shirt or 5 shirts, and it's all about like what you're willing to wear in terms of weight on your backpack, because you really do carry everything with you. And so we only brought 1 shirt each. We brought it was like it was Noah's Ark. I guess Noah's Ark's 2 of everything. We did just 1.
So, to our viewers out there, if you are interested in learning how to pack a bag efficiently, I do have a video on how to pack in just a carry-on and make it last you several weeks. So it sounds like that definitely came in handy. That sort of mentality came in handy for you, John and Greg, during that whole race.
I think most trips, 99% of trips, can be done in a carry-on if you really want to. So
I definitely agree.
those are the kind of tips people need.
So, John, it seems like you and Greg, somehow it was either magic or like very well planned, but it seemed like the right one of you got each challenge. Is that something that you had outlined in advance, like who would do a dancing challenge versus who would do like a puzzle solving challenge? Or was that really just a decision that you all made in the moment?
Those are some of the craziest moments when you get that roadblock, because it is such a cryptic clue at times. I like in India, there's an episode where we get to a location, we have fabric that we brought from another location. We rip the clue and it says, who likes to play with blocks? And we're like, what does that have to do with fabric? Are they Legos? Are they building things? And it was just so cryptic. We just did what we usually do, actually, which is just take a stopwatch, get the clock going, and then stop it, look at the millisecond. If it's even, I do it. If it's odd, Gregory does it. That's how we did a good number of
Are you
roadblocks.
serious?
Yeah. But then, we do that system. Gregory's picked. We open the clue, and it's like print peacocks, like do printing color. And it's like none of this ties together. So there was no way we could have predicted. And a lot of the times it is just convenient who does what. And one of the things I think we're such a strong team personally is because we have a good number of overlapping skills. And I just trust him so much to do things. He trusts me so much to do things. So it's not like we're grossly different in one category. There are a few, and they did line up based on context. When you get to a place and you see people rappelling down a cliff, you're like, all right, well, I guess that's probably our challenge. But then you rip it and it's, whoa, there's math involved too. So they're always like these little things that they're going to throw at you. But most of the time, hey, it was a stopwatch. The other thing to keep in mind, though, with these roadblocks is that you can't have one person do much more than the other. I think at any time you can't have more than 2 roadblocks completed versus your partner. So we also didn't get to choose sometimes. Like Gregory would have 2 more than me, and it's like, all right, I guess I'm doing the next one. Put me in the game, coach. So a lot of the times it was us making sure that we were even enough so that if there really was a moment where it's like, Gregory, you have to do this, this is your calling, that we had the budget to do that for roadblocks.
That makes sense. And which roadblock was the hardest for you? Which one was the easiest? Which one was your favorite or least favorite?
Yeah, touchy question. I'd say the hardest was in Vietnam, leg 2. We did what's like a keep on racing leg, where we completed an entire leg. We've gone from Thailand to Vietnam, done a whole day of racing, and then we get to Phil expecting to plop our bags down, go to a hotel, like veggie out, and then he gives you a clue, and you're like, no, you're still racing. You're going on pretty much to the next episode right now. And from there, just did a whole other leg in Vietnam. So hot, 95 degrees, sweaty. And then the final challenge is a roadblock where you need to, find these tiles within a palace grounds with thousands of like very similar tiles. You're finding one unique one. That one, yeah, it was just so much pressure because you had pretty much all the teams at one point, all looking at the same time, and it was just like random who was picking these out, and you could just see them check in, and Phil literally call them out. You're team number one, you're team number two, which just puts more pressure on you because you're like, all right, the best I can do is third, best I can do is fifth. So I felt like time was running out. I was really hot. Gregory can't do anything. He's just watching me do it. So that was definitely the most pressure. But I will say I made up for it with Slovenia, where I got to take this glider up and overlook this beautiful lake. Once I kind of figured out the challenge, I got to just sit back. I got to ride the plane for a little bit and use the joystick. Just gorgeous. Slovenia those were some good legs.
Yeah, it really inspired me. I've never been to Slovenia. I went to Central Europe last summer, so did Budapest, Prague, Vienna, and Luxembourg, but I'd never really considered Slovenia. It sounds like a place that you would recommend.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Anna Lee went back within a few months. She was back at the same Dragon Bridge where she checked in with Phil. Yeah.
That's hilarious. So if you didn't have access to your phones when you were going up to people asking for directions, how did you communicate? I mean, I feel like we all rely so heavily on Google Translate and even that live translation app.
Yep.
I mean, how did you all communicate with people?
Yeah. Thankfully, English is, at least in the places that we were traveling for this season, prevalent enough that we had a few bites. We had a few people. But it would be tough when we come up to someone, we're kind of struggling to get our sentence across. They know a little bit of English. And then we get their phone and it's like all in Thai or something. And it's like, well, can't do anything with this. Here you go. Thanks anyways. So I think a part of it was like, as long as the phone could be English. And sometimes we even like had to go to the settings and change the phone to English because we were just so desperate. But a lot of it is like deep
and you had the camera crew with you. So I'm assuming the people that you came up to knew that you were official and this was like a legitimate thing.
For sure. And sometimes that was a blessing. Sometimes that really deterred people. In Germany, there were quite a few people. We'd come up asking for directions. All of a sudden they see the camera and like, no. I don't want to be recorded. I don't consent to this. And we're like, that's chill. Just like, give us your phone and you won't be on film. That's all. So I think it did help to have the cameras, especially in some places where you can say like, this is for an American TV show. And all of a sudden people like light up and say, oh yeah, here's my phone, whatever you need. That's so cool. Am I going to be on? What's the name of the show? And just getting all the details. And you have one person who's socializing, chatting usually, while the other one's just like writing the directions down furiously. So it's a bit of a dance. And again, you figure it out. You just figure it out.
I would love to learn more about that process of booking your flight to the next destination. Was there any assistance from the show in getting those last minute flights, or did they at least reserve like a bulk number of seats for X number of teams ahead of each leg?
Yeah, some of the flights, it was a bit of a hodgepodge. Some of the flights, the show would like kind of pseudo book for you. They give you a reservation and then you can choose to like do an earlier one or later one, depending on like where your placement was. Sometimes there was one flight where it was just a charter flight, like going from, I believe, Vietnam to India. It's like, there was kind of only one way to go about it. And yeah, other times you would just show up to either a travel agent or at the airport and just say, hey, I'm trying to get to Vienna. What's the fastest flight to Vienna? Just give it to me. And they give you a card. So your camera person has a credit card that will pay for pretty much all the flights, just flights, and everything else is like cash that they give you at the beginning of the leg, which can be anywhere from $0 to $100, depending on where you're going, how much money everybody has, what transportation you need. So it really varies. It varies. But the funny part is, yeah, you do come up and you're just like, ASAP, what you got? And you got to stay vigilant when you're at the airport too, because when your airline has earlier flights that are full, you can still obviously go up and get on standby. So that was a pretty ferocious process as well, just getting to the airport as quickly as possible and then just like hovering these gates, trying to like get in standby lines. And it worked for some people and saved some people too.
Another question that I had for you was just hoping you could give us a behind the scenes look at what happened at the end of each leg. Did you get to explore the cities that you were in at all, or was it just straight to the hotel? And kind of how did you all pass the time between legs?
All of the exploring that we did, you see on camera. Once you check in with Phil, he tells you what place you're in. They take you to a car, and then typically a location where you'll do your recap of the episode, which can take anywhere from an hour onward. But then once you're done with those recaps, they put you in the hotel. You're stuck in your hotel. They don't give you a key. They have a production assistant outside your door. You're not allowed to leave, but they'll slip menus under your door for, breakfast, lunch, and dinner the next day. And you sleep for most of it. Like, you're typically just so exhausted, you'll sleep for a long time. And then just like talking about just the race, like with Gregory, how did we do? How are we going to improve? What do we expect the next leg? We just landed in India. Like, what do we think we're going to do? What questions do we want to ask right out the gate as soon as we get someone's phone? And then additionally, a lot of Sudoku. You can get a book this thin, and that's going to last you for the race. So we did a lot of that and crossword to pass the time.
But my last question about the race is just how painful was that Thai massage? Because watching it from home and seeing all the pairs go through it, we were cracking up. So was it actually as painful as you made it seem, or was that kind of theatrical?
Well, the thing is, at least for me, I'm not that flexible. So they could pull as hard as they want. I'm not gonna bend too far. So for me, it was kind of nice because I don't stretch all that much, and they weren't able to get some crazy angles. I think the things were sometimes, they'd rub into you, and those are always going to feel a little harsh. The thing that happened uniquely for my room is that kind of early on, Todd was being vocal. We were all being vocal, but Todd gave that like stop. I forgot what he said, but show was over for them. They had to restart, and Gregory and I just shut up, like no other words out of Gregory and I's mouth. So we were pretty focused on just being quiet, getting through. Some people though really were affected for like the entire race after that massage. It was Joel who said that it was still affecting him, even like leg 12 of the race, that he was feeling the effects from that massage. So yeah.
Thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate you being here and just telling us all about the wild experience of not only being on, but also winning the amazing race. So big congratulations to you and Greg again. And we will talk again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks, John.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up and leave a comment below letting me know what your favorite part was. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for more exploration, inspiration, and travel tips, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!